Good morning, everyone. Aaron Killian here for Historic America. I'm currently on Interstate 66, headed to Manassas National Battlefield Park. Going to meet with Jim Burgess. Jim is a ranger at the park. He's also a museum expert and first-class Civil War historian, and he was a great help to me when I was creating my Manassas Battlefield guidebook, now available on iTunes for download. And what Jim is going to do is going to look at the Civil War artifacts that I came into the other day and verify whether or not they are authentic. So I'm excited. It will be neat to learn about them. And also to learn more about the history behind them, not just whether or not they are authentic, and Jim will tell us a little bit about all that too. So I think the equivalent would be a woman finding out whether or not her engagement ring is a real diamond or a cubic zirconia, right? If I could make a grossly overstated comparison. But it'll be fun today, going down and seeing Jim, my historical Sherpa, and learning about what I've got on my hands here. So stay tuned, we'll check back in. All right, here we go. So I'm here with Jim Burgess at Manassas National Battlefield Park, and Jim's going to tell us whether or not I've got the real McCoy here, right, Jim? Mm-hmm. Okay. So Jim, let's start off with the bayonet. Is it real?
Certainly it's real.
Terrific. Okay, talk a little bit about it.
All right. We got a little bit of white paint on the scabbard frog there. Well, it's real, but it postdates the Civil War.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. Talk a little bit about that.
This is a Model 1873 socket bayonet designed for the Model 1873 Springfield rifle, okay. Which is commonly known today as a trapdoor Springfield. This is a breech loader firing a 4570 cartridge. Okay. Now, these 1873 bayonets actually were made from Civil War era Model 1855 bayonets.
Okay, all right.
But what they had to do is they actually had to reduce the diameter of the socket so that it would fit the smaller diameter of the 4570 barrel. But the scabbard is clearly post-Civil War. Mm-hmm. This is definitely, in fact, it's marked New Jersey. Mm-hmm. These are collectible. Mm-hmm. They certainly are highly desired. And this one's not in bad condition. While the 1855 socket bayonets were all finished bright, the 1873 bayonets were all finished blue, mm-hmm. and you still have a lot of the bluing on this blade. Okay. So it's in not bad shape. You might want to put some oil on it.
All right.
The scabbard could also use a
little bit of tuning out,
oil, or put some microcrystalline wax on it instead. That's what usually the Park Service uses.
Okay, all right. Okay.
So that's the news about that.
That's the bayonet story.
Indian War bayonet there.
Okay. And so now it would have been something that soldiers during the Indian Wars might have carried with them.
Absolutely.
They wouldn't have had much use for them other than to use them to cook with, though, right? You're not bayoneting a lot of Indians.
You don't see too many Indians that were bayoneted. Certainly Custer did not have those because he was cavalry, and this is an infantry weapon.
All right.
All right.
So number 2, I have a sword here, Jim. Wrong. Is the sword real? Oh, what do I have?
This is a saber.
A saber. All right.
Swords usually have straight blades.
Okay.
Sabers. A curved blade. This is a cavalry saber.
Okay. Is it real?
Absolutely.
All right. Terrific.
It's real. It actually predates the Civil War.
Predates the Civil War. All right.
And probably saw some Civil War use. This is what's called the Model 1840 cavalry saber. Sometimes it's referred to as a dragoon saber. Mm-hmm. The soldiers usually refer to it as old wrist breaker.
Okay, why is that?
Because it was quite heavy. Mm-hmm. And you definitely needed strong wrist muscles in order to wield one of these things in battle. Mm-hmm. In 1860, the Army adopted a somewhat lighter cavalry saber. The Model 1860 was somewhat lighter. And this one here, I had already peeked. Mm-hmm. The ricasso, this portion of the blade here next to the hilt, is marked. You can see just barely Horstman, Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. Horseman Brothers was a big supplier of a contractor to the U.S. Army. And so this is definitely a genuine Civil War era blade that would have seen use, and it's in pretty good shape. I mean, the leather on the grip is in good shape. It's still got the wire wrapping. You even have the leather gasket here on the front of the hilt, so this is in great shape.
Is this something, Jim, that you would have seen cavalry soldiers carrying during the battles that were fought here at First and Second Manassas?
Absolutely. These, in fact, saw wide use in the Civil War, even right to the end of the war, even though the lighter cavalry saber was preferred. The U.S. Army imported quite a few of these in from Europe, and very frequently you'll find similar sabers or such that look exactly like this, but they don't have any markings on the ricasso, which makes it difficult really to determine where they came from. And of course the Confederates also copied this model as well, so you can find some Confederate swords that are.
But this particular model was something that Union horsemen.
Yeah, with that marking there is definitely a Union saber.
All right.
Not to say that it might have been captured and then used by the Confederates. It's quite possible.
Now, is there any way with these artifacts, Jim, to tell whether they would have been used in the field, or you can't really say with certainty if they've been used in the field or they were just sort of in a supply depot and didn't see much use? Can you evaluate that at all, or is that sort of an impossibility?
Well, it's kind of difficult to really say for sure. You can say that a sword that's almost in mint condition probably never got issued. This one certainly has a fairly good blade. It does show, some wear and tear over the years, and it's hard to say, when that wear and tear was sustained. But if I can take the whole thing out and see if there's any dents in the blade, no, it's in pretty good shape. And it's hard to say whether any of this saw any significant use during the war or not. The scabbard is actually in pretty good shape. You don't see hardly any dents. There's a few. On here, very frequently you will see dents on the scabbard if the scabbard got some hard use. So, again, all in all, I wouldn't mind having this in my collection.
Make me an offer. Hey, so another question, Jim, is that even though the bayonet and the saber are very interesting weapons and of the period, in actuality, they were sort of anachronistic. You didn't see a lot of battle use of sabers and bayonets. By the time the Civil War rolled around, they weren't used in battle like they would have been in conflicts prior.
That might be the perception, but actually the sabers did get used a whole lot more than some people might suggest. Certainly, soldiers then, just as they do today, don't want to have to get that close to the enemy. And if you can dispatch your enemy with a revolver, that certainly was preferred. In fact, John Singleton Mosby, disdained the use of edged weapons. He preferred carrying, a couple of revolvers instead, and he did a lot of his fighting that way. But the Army, the U.S. Army, considered this the primary weapon of the cavalry right through the end of the war. So they probably did see some use in the Battle of Brandy Station. They certainly saw use.
Which was not too far from here.
Yeah, right, just down the road.
Well, Jim, thanks so much. So to recap, right? Authentic to the Civil War, authentic but not to the Civil War.
Authentic to the Indian War.
Okay, cool. And we're not having Jim evaluate the price that any of these might fetch. We're interested in the historical value. So, Jim, thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it.